Namaste all. Hope I'm audible. Uh, Welcome to today's webinar. Today's topic is something new to our platform, and today is a Natural Equilibrium Group 94th webinar, and topic is Food is Climate, and the presentation is given by Dr. Sailesh Rao. And the theme is how modern food culture fundamentally affects the climate well beyond our imagination. And a little bit about our speaker today. Sailesh Raoji is a founder and executive director for Climate Healers, is a non-profit organization for healing the Earth's climate. He is also author of the books Carbon Dharma, The Occupation of Butterflies, and also another book, Carbon Yoga, The Vegan Metamorphosis. And he also an engineer who led the team to develop the Ethernet standards. A little more details. Um Dr. Sailesh Rao has over 32 years of professional experience and is the founder and executive director of Climate Healers. And he dedicated to the organization which is dedicated to healing the Earth's climate. He also is a system specialist with a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University. And Dr. Rao worked on the internet communication infrastructure for 20 years after graduation. In 2006, he switched careers and became deeply immersed full-time in the environmental crisis affecting humanity and has been studying how to reverse them and achieve the global sustainability from a system perspective. Dr. Rao is the author of the two books, as I already mentioned, and also he is a producer for the 4 documentaries. And apart from that, Dr. Rao has 50 standards contributions to the ATM forum and the IEEE 802.3 CSMA/CD working group, 22 peer-reviewed technical publications, 10 US patent and 3 Canadian patents, and has received numerous awards throughout his career. So without wasting much time, we'll hand over the session to Dr. Sailesh Rao. Sailesh ji, welcome to you, and we have participants from the Zoom and as well as in the Facebook as well. And it will be recorded in the published in the YouTube as well. So please share your experiences today on this topic.
Thank you very much. Namaste, Sudhir. Namaste, everyone. Can I start sharing my presentation?
Yes, yes. Yes, sir. Hello.
You can see that and hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So as Sudhirji mentioned, I'm a systems engineer. So, and as a systems engineer, you basically take other people. So I'm just trying to make sense of the reality around me. So even the title of this presentation, Food is Climate, is actually the title of a book that's going to come out soon, written by Glenn Mercer. And it'll be out in August or September of this year. So let's see, what do I mean by food is climate? See, Bertrand Russell said, the greatest challenge to any thinker is to state the problem in a way that will allow a solution. And so far, the way the mainstream media has been portraying climate change, it's very little that anyone can do. If all you have to do is, to change the infrastructure to clean energy, what can you do? You have to go in a car, you have to go in a bus, you're stuck, right? So that doesn't really allow each one of us to participate in the solution to the extent that we can. So this is why I said we need to look at this correctly to understand what the real problem is. And you discover when you look at this that it's much, much bigger than just climate. Okay, climate is just one of it. So the world scientists issued a warning to humanity in 1992, pointing out how everything in the environment is being messed up. Okay, so they said, we, the undersigned, senior members of the world scientific community, hereby warn all humanity of what lies ahead. A great change in our stewardship of the earth and the life on it is required if vast human misery is to be avoided and our global home on this planet is not to be irretrievably mutilated. So that doesn't talk about just climate, right? It's talking about everything. And the same, there was an update to this warning in 2017, 25 years later, and it was signed by 15,372 scientists. And it pointed out that everything that was indicated in the 1992 paper. Okay? So we are going down the wrong road. And when we do that, when we are going down the road, it's basically nature telling us that a global transformation is inevitable. You're going to have to change the way we live, whether we like it or not. Okay? So you can't be playing golf when there's a fire behind you. And so in January of this year, there was a paper by a whole lot of scientists, including Corey Bradshaw and Paul Ehrlich, stating that we are underestimating the challenges of avoiding a ghastly future. So we're just blindly going along, even though we know, we can see that things are not going well. And one of the major problems is biodiversity loss, the loss of wildlife on the planet. And so there was a paper in 2019 which said that pervasive human-driven decline of life on Earth points to the need for transformative change. So I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new that you don't know. You already know this. You already know that what we're doing is not good for us and good for the planet. In 2010, we wiped out 52% of all wild animals. And it was going down exponentially. So I calculated. So this report from the World Wildlife Fund came out in 2014. So at that point, I calculated that we are on track to reach 100% by 2026. That's how fast the exponential curve was going. And I was shocked. I said, whoa, wait a minute. If we are on track to wipe out all wild animals by 2026, why isn't everybody talking about this? So then I thought, okay, let me wait before I hastily jump up and down yelling about this. Let me wait until the next report comes out and see what happens. So the next report came out in 2016, and they issue a report every 2 years, the World Wildlife Fund. And in 2016, they said between 1970 and 2012, 58% of all wild animals were wiped out in terms of the total biomass. So we lost another 6% in just 2 years. So at that rate, even just a linear extrapolation will show you that we're going to reach 100% by 2026. So I knew that at that point that my calculations were correct. And it was further reinforced in the latest LPR of 2020. We protected them. So by my estimate, by now, we are now over 80% gone. 80% of the wild animals are gone. So the trouble with wiping out wild animals is that once you reach a certain point of no return, then it is a dramatically sudden change, sudden collapse of ecosystems that will happen. You're driving a car at 90 miles an hour, 150 kilometers an hour, and you round a bend in the road and you see a wall in front of you on the road. Some jerk went and put it up. What do? The first step, take your foot off the accelerator, and then you have to apply your brakes, especially if your children and grandchildren are in the back seat. Okay. So what does that mean? what does taking your foot off the accelerator mean? What does applying brakes mean in this case? We know we are 5 seconds from hitting a wall, just 5 years from hitting a wall. So if you were to look at the literature and to understand what scientists are saying, what we should be doing, this Gus Speth is one of the top environmentalists in the US. He was the dean of environmental studies at Yale University. And he said, I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address those problems. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. You see, he's a scientist. I consider myself an engineer. Engineers are applied scientists. So we actually look at problems, we figure out the root cause of why we have those problems, and we figure out how to address them. So I started looking at this as where is this selfishness, greed, and apathy coming from? Is this inherent in human nature, or is this systemic? And if it is systemic, I'm a systems engineer, I should be able to figure out how to create a system in which we automatically have selflessness and generosity and activism, the exact opposite of this first three. So what would that system be if you were to create a system like that? And can we not create it as soon as possible? So that's how I started analyzing it, right? So I looked at why is there selfishness, greed, and apathy? And then I discovered that there are fundamental axiomatic problems in the civilization that we are living in. The first axiomatic problem is what I call the false axiom of supremacism, which is that life is a competitive game in which those who have gained an advantage may possess, enslave, and exploit animals, nature, and the disadvantaged for their pursuit of happiness. This is what I call the might is right rule. So for the first step, when I said, take your foot off the accelerator, the equivalent of that is to shut down this, because there is a killing machine that we have implemented to promote this false axiom of supremacism, the might is right rule. There's a killing machine, and you can see that all around us. There are bulldozers going around tearing down trees. We have factory farms. Animals are being slaughtered everywhere. There's slaughterhouses. And then there's a wall, and so you can't see what's going on. And then they give you these products, right? So you eat these animals, you eat this cheese, and we're taking all the fish out of the ocean. So there's a killing machine that's killing 80 billion land animals and 1 to 3 trillion sea animals every year, and about 40 million human beings from hunger and diseases, avoidable diseases. Okay? Not to mention 10 billion trees every year. So that is the false axiom of supremacism, the might is right rule. So if you build a system based on the might is right, and then we sit around wondering, why is this not sustainable? We just have to look in the mirror, right? So this was the first thing that we discovered, that this false axiom of supremacism needs to be overcome. Second is this is what I call the greed is good rule, or for Indians, I can tell you this is the Ravana is good rule. Okay, and you can see that in all the ads that you see every day. You can see that in the consumer culture that we live in. So basically, it's implementing this false axiom. So it's saying if you want to be happy, you need to consume. You need to consume more. You need to consume, this pizza or Kentucky Fried Chicken, or whatever it is, right? So this is the greed is good rule. And we know it's not true. We've known this for 7,000 years that it's not true. Okay, this is not something new that I'm telling you. So this is the second axiom that needs to be overturned. This is the brake that you need to apply on the car. Okay, So you take your foot off the accelerator, which is shut down the killing machine first, and then shut down the burning machine, which is put your foot on the brake. But why are we stuck in this? We are stuck in this because we are running an ecological Ponzi scheme. That's our economy. Our global human economy is an ecological Ponzi scheme. And this is not my term. This is something that Paul Ehrlich came up with this. He called it the global ecological Ponzi scheme. And these 5 aspects of this Ponzi scheme, this is not something I came up with. This is something that Jeremy Lent came up with. Okay. Basically, our economic system monetizes everything so that when dead trees have more economic value than living trees, we cut down the trees. When dead animals have more economic value than living animals, we slaughter the animals. And when sick people have more economic value than healthy people, we sicken people. It monetizes everything, including hospital beds, oxygen tanks, you name it. It monetizes everything. It endangers life on Earth through climate change, biological annihilation, and pandemics. It addicts everyone into compulsive behaviors. It lies to us about the root cause of pandemics, the protein myth, the calcium myth, you name it, a whole bunch of lies. We even put lies in our textbooks for our children. And it steals from the poor to enrich the rich. So this is something I did. I went to a supermarket here in America, and I bought organic basmati rice for $2 a pound. And then I went to Orissa, to the village where the rice was grown, and I asked the woman, how much did you get paid? And I calculated that she got paid about 5 cents a pound. So what happened to the rest? It was stolen from her. That's what happened to the rest. It was stolen from her, and we are now sort of fighting over the spoils. Okay, so this is basically a Ponzi scheme. That's the Ponzi scheme I'm talking about. And civilization, this Western civilization that we are all ensconced in, this consumerist culture and this civilization, is an engineering shambles. What do I mean by that? If any engineer came to me with a project in which he has created this, I would fire him. I would fire him for incompetence. Okay? Because here are the limits. There are limits to the planet. Okay, there are certain ecological ceilings for the planet, and there's a basic need that humanity has to meet. So the engineering project is to say, how do we live in a way that we stay within the donut, within these two, within the green zone here. Okay, so this is what Kate Raworth had talked about as donut economics. Now, if you look at where we are today, you will see we haven't met the basic needs for so many people, for billions of people. And simultaneously, we have exceeded the limits on climate change, on biodiversity loss, on land conversion, on nitrogen and phosphorus loading. And there are a couple of them, like air pollution, aerosol loading, that we haven't even quantified. We haven't even quantified whether we have exceeded or not. And we haven't even quantified whether chemical pollution we've exceeded or not. If you haven't even quantified something, I mean, that's sheer incompetence. Okay, so our leaders should be fired for this sheer incompetence. They haven't even started to measure this, to figure out. We are pouring 250 billion tons of toxic chemicals into the environment, and we don't even know whether that has exceeded the limits or not. Okay. Now, why are all these things? I mean, what is the main outcome of all these environmental problems? The main outcome is that life is dying. So therefore, biodiversity loss is the one that is the biggest in terms of how red it is. This is why it's shown in this shaded area, because this red exceeds by a factor of 100 over the limits. Factor of 100 to 1,000. Okay. So climate change is the problem because it kills animals. It kills everybody. Land conversion is the problem because it kills everybody. Nitrogen and phosphorus loading is the problem because it kills everybody. Okay. So chemical pollution is the problem because it kills everybody. So it all comes down to the killing. The killing. Now we are also directly killing. So you have to say, well, shouldn't that be the first thing you need to shut down? Yes, that is the first thing you need to shut down. But that's not how we are told. That's not the story we're being told right now. Our leaders are deliberately misdirecting public attention away from the killing machine. Why? Well, how are they doing that? Because if you look at the leading cause of all of these other problems, you will see that it's mainly animal agriculture. The role of agriculture is shown in black dots here. You can see it's mainly animal agriculture, the leading cause of all these other problems. But the leading cause of climate change is not animal agriculture. See, that's how we have been told. That's the story we're being told. And then we are told the climate change is the only thing you need to focus on. Don't worry about the others. So they are misdirecting public attention. They're pointing to one, and I see that, and I tell them it's like saying the fever is the main problem in your body. When you have cancer, you have diabetes, you have heart disease, you have all these other issues too going on. But we only focus on the fever, and they're trying to give us Tylenol or aspirin for our fever because they're making money off the aspirin. Because that's the system we are in. See, the system actually victimizes everybody. Okay, it's not that our leaders are all bad people. They're stuck in the same system. And our food system is probably the most incompetent engineering shambles I've ever seen. Because we eat about 1.6 billion tons of food. That's what is shown on the right-hand side. So 0.05 billion tons is seafood we eat. We eat about 1.35 billion tons of plant food and 0.19 billion tons of meat and dairy. Okay. So totally we eat about 1.6 billion tons of food. Now to eat 1.6 billion tons of food, we are actually procuring 9 billion tons of food from the planet, from 49% of the land area of the planet. And most of that we're feeding to our animals, who then give us 0.26 billion tons of their bodies and their secretions. So their muscle meat and their secretions that goes into this industrial processing block, and out comes 0.19 billion tons that comes to our plate. Now our animals are also producing 0.14 billion tons of skin and blood and bones and other substances that go into some industrial machine that's using it for all kinds of other things like clothing and glue and all kinds of things. Okay, so this is why going vegan is so important. Because when we go vegan, we are saying, I don't want animals in anything I buy. So take this entire animal production block and throw it away. So that's when you shut down the killing machine. But if you say, okay, it's only my health I'm interested in, I don't care about my clothing, I'll wear leather clothes, but I don't want to eat animal foods, then you are saying it's okay to produce the 0.14 billion tons of other substances. And our corporations are perfectly capable of raising animals just for their skin. They already do that with a whole bunch of other animals anyway. So you will not address the problem at all. So this is why the vegan movement is fundamental to a transformation. Now, if you look at the earth and how we use the earth, okay, this is 100% of the land area of the planet, ice-free land area of the planet is shown here. Only 1% is for cities and shopping centers and so on. 19% is unused land, is deserts and mountains, etc. Okay, and most of those deserts actually came from animal agriculture. Okay, so there is a consequence for raising animals, which is that we're going to be creating deserts. 22% of the land is basically plantations. This is for our timber and our paper and all this stuff. So we are growing all these trees and chopping them and turning them into substances. Only 9% is original forest. Okay? And of that 9%, I'm told that 2/3 of it is already has all kinds of invasive species. So only 3% is pristine forest that used to be there. So our wild animals, this is why our wild animals are literally dying in front of our eyes. 37% of the land is now used just to graze our animals. So if you look at the food we eat, 85% of the food we eat is already plant-based, and it comes from just 6% of the land area of the planet. Okay, just 6% of the land area of the planet, which is really 2% of the surface area of the earth. We are getting 85% of our food from that. Then to get 12% of our food, which is animal-based, we are using 43% of the land area of the planet. Is that smart? And then to get 3% of the food we eat, we are destroying the entire ocean. So this is even worse, what we are doing to the ocean. So to me, this is a shambles. I mean, our civilization is a complete mess. And you can't tweak this into something that's going to be sustainable. Okay. And so what we showed in our position paper, which just got published in the Journal of Ecological Society, is that animal agriculture is the leading cause of climate change. It's responsible for 87% of greenhouse gas emissions because of the land use. Because so much land is being used to raise animals, and on that land, we have chopped down all the trees. Okay? So hardly any trees left. So then I'm an engineer. So I said, okay, how would I power down these two machines? Because both these machines are awful, the burning machine and the killing machine. Okay, we need to shut them down. So as an engineer, I do sensitivity analysis to figure out how to shut these things down. So I looked at how much CO2, how much heating is caused by CO2, which is 1.68 watts per square meter. How much cooling is caused by our aerosols, because there are some gases that we put into the environment that actually cool the atmosphere, like sulfur dioxide. So those are causing negative 1.1 watts per square meter of heating, so 1.1 watts per square meter of cooling. And then methane and other greenhouse gases are causing 1.7 watts per square meter of heating. So overall, we're heating the earth by 2.29 watts per square meter. So this is like saying we're going to put a 2.29 watt heater on every square meter of the earth's surface. Then you're simulating the effect of what we are doing with our gases, okay, humanity's gases. So how do you power down the machines? Well, you look at the impact, the annual impact of the burning machine and the annual impact of the killing machine, and you see how would you do it. So I looked at the annual emissions of the burning machine. So the burning machine is adding 87% of the CO2 every year, okay? And that's causing an additional 0.027 watts per square meter of heating. It's adding 23% of the methane, which is causing an additional 0.022 watts per square meter of heating. And it's adding 23% of the methane, which is causing an additional 0.022 watts per square meter of heating. So the burning machine is adding 0.022 watts per square meter of heating. Actually heat up the earth by 0.9 watts per square meter. Is that what we want to do right now? Crank up the heating by 0.9 watts per square meter? But that's exactly what our governments are talking about, just shutting down the burning machine. And don't touch the killing machine. They don't want to touch the killing machine. Because annual emissions of the killing machine, you go through the same kind of analysis, you will see that the killing machine is using 39% of the CO2, so that's 0.009 watts per square meter of heating, 37% of the methane, which is 0.035 watts per square meter of heating, and 37% of the land on which you could store 34.5 gigatons of CO2 every year. If you just leave that land, give that land back to forests. This is the minimum you can sequester. So that is an additional 0.06 watt every year. Okay. So from this, as an engineer, if you ask me to shut down these two machines, and this is engineering 101, this is not something that only, learned engineers should be able to figure out. This is engineering 101. Anybody should be able to figure this out. Is that the best way to shut down these two machines is to first shut down the killing machine as soon as possible, and then power down the burning machine 11% per year over the next 9 years. Then you won't heat up the earth any more than you're heating it up today. Okay, this is what I would do as an engineer. Now, if I look at all the governments and what they're all talking about as solution to climate change, they're only talking about powering down the burning machine. And there is no danger that they're going to do it in the next 9 years. Okay, so it's not like they're not, they're going aggressively on the burning machine. I'm saying no. What they're doing is okay. Keep powering down the burning machine at the rate you're doing it now, but shut down the killing machine first, for heaven's sake. Otherwise, you're going to heat up the earth. Okay, this is not rocket science. So, Richard Feynman said this. He said, for a successful technology, reality must take precedence over public relations because nature cannot be fooled. Nature is going to give us consequences for our actions, whether we like it or not. So when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up, 7 people died. When a civilization blows up, 7 billion people are going to die. So this is why it's important for us to deal with our situation with science, with correct science, okay? As an engineer would. You need engineering precision here. And so we need to create a new system that is based on the true axioms. So true axiom of inner peace, which is the pursuit of happiness is best accomplished by seeking it within ourselves, which is what I call the self-mastery rule. And secondly, the true axiom of Homo Ahimsa, which is all life is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? Where we each bring our unique skills to give all we can, receive all we need, and become all we are. And this includes animals. This includes all life. Okay, it's not just human beings. All life has to be included in this. This is the vitality code rule of Dr. Shelley Ostroff. So as individuals, I say the number one thing you can do to address climate change today is to go vegan. And as vegan, I mean, go vegan as organic as possible and as local as possible. Local, organic, vegan eating. That's love. So get into love now and become a conscious consumer. Stop buying things. Stop buying into the nonsense that you're being told in these ads. Okay? I do what I call buy everything day, which is I make a list on the rest of during the rest of the year. And on one day a year, I go buy what I need. And usually on that day, I go look at my list and I cross everything off because I really don't need it. So literally you can become a minimalist. It doesn't take much to be a minimalist. And you'll discover that you are actually much, much happier when you do that. And thirdly, join a community and contribute. What is needed now for the earth is more contributors, those who are trying to do good, okay? Who are not just talking about it, but actually doing it. So we have a convergence that happens every 3 months. This was the last convergence. I have to update this. The next one is going to be July 31st, August 1st. And it will be bit.ly/vegstick6. Okay. And in that convergence, we are talking about the 7 strategic actions we need to do for planetary healing. First is education. Educate, educate, educate. Tell people this new story and what we need to do. Secondly is to persuade the UN, petition the UN to drop SDG 8. SDG 8 is all about economic growth. It's all about asking the earth to give me more, more, more. It's time for us to tell our Mother Earth, we don't need any more. Okay? We now have to start giving back. So this is all about economic growth. Drop SDG 8, and drop it. This is the Sustainable Development Goals, and add SDG 18, which is zero animal exploitation, which again is an initiative that Claire Smith started. Third is to solve SDG 2, which is zero hunger. And we can do that with healthy vegan food because we have plenty of food. As I just pointed out, we have plenty of food. We're extracting 6 times as much food as we really need from the planet. Okay, so if we all go vegan, there is no need for world hunger. Fourth is we have to work on a constitution that is based on the correct axioms. And surely we know how to create economies that are not Ponzi schemes. Okay. Otherwise, I asked the economists, what good are you if you can't figure this out? And finally, sixth, we need to get all the religions to come together and say, we are in this together. Okay? We are one family. We have to address what is happening on earth together. And finally, we have to create food forests everywhere. New ecology creating food forests everywhere. And that's how you reverse climate change. By sucking down the CO2 that's in the atmosphere in the form of trees. We have cut half the trees on the planet. So if we bring back the trees that we cut, we can literally reverse climate change. So the solution to climate change is simple. Go vegan and reforest the planet. Transform yourself and transform our world. It begins with you. And this is my granddaughter, and she is my boss. And I'm doing this for her because I think she deserves a beautiful planet to live on.
Wonderful, sir.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. I mean, each and every line, each and every sentence, each and every word is making a lot of sense because there is a need, there is a danger coming, like in the web series Game of Thrones, winter is coming. Like, in the modern living, chemical-rich modern living, the global warming is coming and climate change is happening. And if anyone closely observe the naturally cooling group where we are discussing about now, all the activities, all the concepts are directly or indirectly related to how we can reduce the global warming. Now, if a scientist and an engineer comes with a data and this problem and what is the solution, then definitely is going to be your presentation. I mean, you covered all the topics, all the problems and everything. And we are glad to know that the third book is coming and hope it will having a lot of insights and it will motivate, it will initiate the fire in many. And yeah, in between the connection got broken. So I just want to recapture for the sake of all the participants. So there are burning machines and cutting machines. So burning machines means the power plant generations. We are burning fuel and we are burning charcoal and everything. So now meat production, how it is directly causing a global warming. Please elaborate a little bit on that. Say I'm raising the animals, then how it is directly related to global warming.
Well, the number one, it's very simple. Okay, over the last 10,000 years, we have been raising animals. Okay, and we've been raising more and more animals every year. So it's like to do that, we have been chopping down trees. Okay, we've been cutting trees. So the 37% of the land area of the planet that is grazing land only stores 2% of the land carbon. Okay, so think about that. Each tree stores about 1 ton of CO2 in its lifetime. Okay, so a mature tree has 1 ton of CO2 sitting on the ground. Where did that CO2 come from? It was in the atmosphere. The tree sucked it down through photosynthesis and put it in itself. Okay, so if we cut half the trees, and there used to be 6 trillion trees on the planet. Now there are only 3 trillion trees. So count it. 3 trillion trees, 1 ton per tree. How many tons of CO2 can you store if you bring back the trees that you cut down? Right there. Right? How many tons of CO2 are in the atmosphere? 3 trillion tons. So you can literally suck everything down from the atmosphere if you really want to. Okay? So this is why I say bringing back trees, you can reverse climate change. So it's shut down the killing machine, because the killing machine is a cultural thing, right? If you say I can kill anything I want, if I want to kill, I'll kill, then, and no one can stop me from killing because, hey, it's my freedom to kill, then you're going to kill everything, because someone will want to go kill everything. Okay? So even one person's greed is enough to destroy the planet. So it is a cultural shift that needs to happen. And this is why the act of meat eating, meat and dairy consumption, dairy especially too, okay, because it's even worse, is the foundation of the killing machine. And that needs to shut down.
So yeah, wonderful answer. So another thing is now, as you mentioned, healthy tree doesn't make sense, and the choput tree makes more economic, and healthy people doesn't value, and no, only sick people make more value in terms of monetary. No, because
Right.
all the economy is built on such thing. If you, I mean, if you suddenly start shifting, it may create more job loss and other kind of thing. So
Yeah. Think about that job loss. Think about just that. Okay. See how we have been colonized. Okay. Throughout the world. It's not just in India. We have been colonized and we are still colonized. So if you look at the Declaration of Independence in America, it says the Creator has endowed you with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Creator has given us a right to life, right? That's what it's told. That's what we are told. And then we are told, when you go to school, you all have to go earn a living. I say, wait a minute, what does that mean? If I have to earn a living, what happened to my right to life? That was given to me by my Creator. Okay? So earning a living, the fundamental concept of earning a living is that you have no right to life unless you do what your master tells you. That is colonialism 101. Okay? So we are colonized. We have been colonized, and we have been colonized in our textbooks and everything, right? So basically, the colonial system has duped us into thinking we are independent, into thinking, all this Janagana Mana, this is all duping, right? So they've been conning us. And because they've been colonizing us all along, right? Throughout the world. I mean, even the English people have been colonized. So it's a system. It's a system. It's a machine. It's a machine that is basically running rampant on the planet. And there are a few people who are running the machine who think they're winning in the machine. But ultimately, in this machine, if the one who really wins is going to lose everything, okay? Because the end point of this machine is complete annihilation and death for everybody. There'll be one winner, but that winner is also going to die because you don't live by yourself.
right. Yeah.
So,
So
yeah,
if
it's a
all,
machine, right? So,
yeah. So if all the governments start taking these, the problems or the issues currently, and they start transforming from this to, from economic model to ecological models,
uh-huh.
so how many years it may take to restore the health of the climate? I just want.
Think about it. Okay, so we did experiments with human beings, right? So with human beings, like we now have a program in South Africa where we took two people, one a poor grandmother from a shanty town in Cape Town, and the other is the Prime Minister of Cape Town province, and we put both of them on a healthy diet. Basically, both of them had diabetes. So
Okay.
everyone is a victim. This is what I'm pointing out. The Prime Minister of Cape Town has diabetes. So he's also a victim. And and the poor grandmother also has diabetes. We put them both on this healthy diet, and within 21 days they were both diabetes free. So 21 days it took for the individual to heal. And I'm saying that uh, our health is also the planet's health. So if we all heal, if we all eat right and heal, all of us have to heal. Okay, it's not just the uh, rich people have to heal. Everyone has to heal. So people who are hungry have to be given food. This is why I say, meet SDG 2 first, zero hunger. We can do that with healthy plant foods. And, don't ask them for money, feed them. Just give it to them. So the government should be able to do that. It doesn't cost that much to feed everyone dal chawal. Okay. I think in Tamil Nadu, she's doing it for like 10 paise or 1 rupee per idli or something like that. It doesn't take much, especially for us in India. Okay. Our base food is fundamentally vegan.
Yes, true.
Okay. Dal chawal and roti sabji is vegan. Idli sambar is vegan.
Yes.
So we can easily feed people healthy food that everyone enjoys and nourish ourselves. And then once we are nourished, then we can ask them, now that you're feeling healthy, would you please help us plant some trees? And I bet you that they will. Because when someone doesn't want to work, it's because they're sick. When you're healthy, you want to contribute. That's
Right.
the mark of health.
Right.
Right? You want to contribute to the good of the whole. And so the healing human beings and healing the planet happens together, and it can happen very quickly. See, I say that we are pretty smart as a species. Okay, we can figure out a new way of organizing ourselves for tree planting. Right, that's our main goal: is to tree plant 3 trillion trees. Can we not plant 3 trillion trees? 7.8 billion people. Do the math. It's about 400 trees per person. Plant 1 tree a day. If you think it's going to take you so much time to dig a hole and plant a tree, you do it in a year. A little over a year, you can do it, right? So if we put our minds to it, we can solve this problem very quickly.
Yes.
But it begins with getting people healthy first, right?
Right.
So if people are looking for oxygen all over the place, they're not going to be interested in planting trees.
Right. So I remember in the olden days, when I was a kid, basically nowadays people are depending more on animals as a food is causing them more problem.
Yeah, of course, because that's the system we have, right?
Yeah.
So we bought into this myth that we got independence when it's the same damn system, the same education system too, right?
Yes.
And we were told that you need to drink milk to get calcium, all this nonsense, right? I think it is a crime to lie to children.
Exactly. No,
It
no.
should be
When
a
I was,
crime against humanity to
yeah.
lie to children.
When I was a kid, I remember nobody used to eat eggs and meat, especially only
Right.
in big festivals. The people used to celebrate and then eat. Now,
Well,
over the period of time, oh no, rose khaye anda. No, eat
right,
egg every day. No,
right,
milk is the only source of calcium. So many things came. So how come
right,
educated people nowadays also most of the people are very well educated, they're
right,
earning rich and 6 figure salary or 7 figure salary, but
right,
most of them are switched to non-vegetarian because they are told vegetarian food is not healthy. To get strength, to get energy, to get more immunity, you need to eat non-vegetarian. It
right,
went to up to such an extent that even a pure vegetarian family started taking eggs and meat and
right.
it's a cycle. I don't know where it started and why it started and whom started.
Well, look, these are people. Corporations have psychologists who understand human psychology, and they are using
Hello.
conditioned. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, educated really means conditioned by corporations. Okay, that's what it is.
Mhm.
Corporations are the ones writing our textbooks. Okay, corporations are the ones who are uh,
Orchestrating the
orchestrating the whole thing. Basically, the education system is is about taking, and filtering out those who are obedient.
Mhm.
Right? It's only those who are obedient who get good marks.
Mhm.
Those who are rebelling, who are saying, hey, I don't know why I should learn this, right?
Mhm.
They don't get good marks. And so then they fail. They fail, right? So we kick them out of the system and we don't give them enough resources. So it's only those who are obedient who get resources.
Right.
Okay.
Got it.
So it's a way of conditioning humans into the factory farm
Mhm.
that we are all part of. So
Mhm.
humans are also being factory farmed. Okay.
So at one point, even these corporations will know that things are going out of control.
Right.
And then when will be that time? Yes, I want to know from your end.
Well, if we are going to sit around waiting for corporations to get religion, that's not going to happen. Okay.
Okay,
Corporations are machines.
okay,
So corporations are machines, and we have to be smart enough on the outside to figure out how to make those machines do what we want,
okay.
as opposed to waiting for corporations and corporate CEOs to become enlightened.
Mhm.
That's not going to happen, because usually those who are promoted in corporations are the ones who are the most uh, who have the most, I guess you could say, their empathy has been taken out of them.
Mhm.
Okay, because otherwise you cannot make certain decisions. Like you have to make decisions as to whether to go along with the slave labor, right?
Mhm.
Because that's where the cheapest product is coming from. And if you say, "Oh no, my heart is hurting for all the children who are suffering," then you will say, "No, I want to buy the buy the materials that cost more." Then you'll get kicked out of the corporation because some shareholder is going to say, "Hey, he's wasting money,"
Right. It's like
right?
a who is going to tie the bell in the cat's neck?
See, that's the thing, right? You don't want to deal with the cat like that. Basically, you have to figure out how to get the cat to come to you. And so I say that we need to create a new game.
Right.
Okay, new game. We need to create a new game to tell the corporations we are playing by this game. So we are playing two games. So we are also playing your game. So we're going to be earning money in the old system, but we are only spending it in the new system. So meaning we want you to build these products for us,
Right. So
and those
fundamental.
products are we are measuring everything that needs to be measured. See, we know how to run engineering projects. Okay,
Hmm.
we know how to get to the moon. I mean, we know. Look, engineers are taught to deal with the truth.
Hmm.
If I don't deal with the truth, then the product I'm building will not work.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So we know how to do that. Like, so we know, if you give me these constraints and you say, can you design something with that, lets civilization stay within these bounds?
Hmm.
I know how to do that. I can create a system like that. I can create a game like that. So
Right.
that's what I'm working on now. That's what we are working on. So we are creating this new game called Aquarius,
Mhm.
that then we can tell the corporations, excuse me, we're not buying unless it matches this in Aquarius. And we are looking at the true cost in Aquarius.
Right.
Then they will be forced to do what we want.
Hmm.
Okay? Think of the corporations as dumb machines
Hmm.
who are trying to psychologically manipulate us, because they have some algorithms to figure out how to manipulate us, right?
Hmm. Right.
So we need to get smarter than these dumb machines.
Right.
That's all. Uh, we can't just say, dismantle everything and let's start over. No, I'd rather we figure out a way to transition,
Right.
right?
Right.
Using the corporations to do what we want.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's a simple word. Is a transformation from negative to positive, from unnatural to natural. Hello. I think we lost again. Hello.
Exactly. Right. Our true role is to maintain the climate on the planet um, so that it doesn't go haywire.
Yeah.
Because once you recognize that we are changing the climate of the planet,
Mhm.
we automatically assume responsibility for maintaining it.
Yes. Yeah. Another question here is, I mean, the United Nations declared 2023 as a year of the millets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, in India, especially before the Britishers came, before Green Revolution in 1955 and 56, most of the people used to eat millets as a staple food,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it used to be very ecological friendly and environmental friendly and less water resource friendly taking.
Mm-hmm.
But in something happened, the same thing like corporations. Everybody
Yeah.
started eating only paddy rice, wheat, coffee, tea, sugar, and animal milk is a superfood and real staple food. Now,
Right.
so how you see, because in India, especially because of Dr. Kadirwali work and other millet promoters, people got a lot of awareness and information. Many people got their health back, and there's a lot of very aggressively people are transitioning from other junk food to meals as a staple food. So, in the high level, in the global level, how you see United Nations 2023 plan will help to reduce the global warming?
Well, United Nations, remember, is part of the system. Okay. So they are going to be doing a um, few initiatives like this as a SOP to the public. But you have to remember, they're the ones who are promoting economic growth at all costs.
Mm.
And growth at all costs is basically a cancer cell, right? That does that.
Right.
So uh, so I haven't seen seriousness in those initiatives, but we can use them, like the year of the millets. Yeah, fine, let's grow a lot of millets. Really, we should be growing a lot of food for us. Okay, so that you don't have to keep doing agriculture every year. The era of agriculture is over. We
Mm.
need to be planting permanent food for us so that we can go harvest whenever we need it,
Yeah.
whatever we need. and
Agroforestry methodologies.
and let animals eat. See, it's about creating food for them as well, right?
Right, right,
All the
right.
animals, yeah, so that they can thrive.
Yes.
Because
That,
right now we have taken away their food, we are eating just for ourselves, and then we are poisoning their water,
hmm.
and we are filtering the water for ourselves, right? We have water treatment plant just for ourselves.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take few questions from the participants as well. Participants, please raise your hands and unmute yourself to ask the questions if you have any. So one question from Lataji is, what should be one game we can make the corporates to play to our tune?
Yeah. So we are talking about a game called Aquarius, in which we are measuring the ecological footprint of products
Hmm.
in terms of carbon dioxide, CO2 emissions, in terms of water usage, in terms of chemical pollution, in terms of so all the boundaries, right? So we are trying to figure out how to quantify all the boundaries,
Mm.
and then we are asking corporations, can you let us look at your processes and rate them and figure out what is it that you're really doing, right? And so if they say no, we won't show you. I said, okay, then don't worry. We're not interested in your product. So we're only going to rate those who are open source, who are showing us what they're doing.
Mm.
And then we are going to encourage people who play the new game to only buy those products.
Right, right.
Okay. So that's how you change. You see, the vegan movement has shown us that we have the power to make corporations change, right?
Yes.
Because in the US, the vegan movement is forcing all these corporations to have vegan options.
Mm.
It's not that they want to have vegan options, that's the last thing on their minds.
Right.
But we are forcing them by saying, we're not buying that, we're only buying this. So as consumers, we have a lot of power. Okay? And so it's about using that power wisely and to create a new game so that we can transition from the old to the new.
Right. Yeah, because you mentioned the US. When I went to USA in 10 years back, I hardly find any vegetarian food. So I was forced into such situation where I had to take a chicken biryani or a non-vegetarian food and remove the non-veg and eat only the rest of the things. Now, when I went back to US in 1 year back, I see a lot of options available because of the
Yeah,
vegan movement.
yeah, yeah. It's everywhere.
Yes, thank you. I think we covered all the questions, and is very grateful to having a session on with you. And as I mentioned, each and every word and things is very interesting and very encouraging and very informative. And hopefully, we'll continue further because nowadays all the human beings, especially educated, need data. They need statistics. They need proofs. They need everything in place. Then only they start accepting it. Whether they believe it or not, that different issue. To just accept it, we need so much of presentation, which you are wonderfully doing all the things to to communicate well. So hopefully we'll do micro level discussion so that many people can understand easily and we can communicate more clearly with the confidence, so that depending on the plant based food is the only the hope, is only the
Right.
solution.
Right. That's
With
the
this,
number one thing. That's taking your foot off the accelerator, is
yes,
going vegan.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And thanks for joining us today's session and sharing your experiences. You really communicated a lot of things in very simple, slow manner, so that still I'm not able to understand. Okay, such a things can be communicated in a such level also. And yeah, thank you all. Thanks to
Thank
the
you.
past tense, and thanks for joining this today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much.